The hospital corridors buzzed with the usual morning rush, nurses moving fast, doctors with clipboards, the faint beeping of machines, and the soft hum of anxious whispers. But that calm routine shattered when the automatic doors opened and enrolled a group that didn't belong there. Leather jackets, roaring boots, tattoos snaking up their necks, a biker gang. All eyes followed them as they helped their leader, bleeding from a deep gash on his shoulder. The nurse at the counter froze for a moment before collecting herself. "Room 3, please," she said quietly. The man leading the group, tall and broad-shouldered, with cold blue eyes and a scar across his cheek, looked at her name tag. "Nurse Lily," he muttered, nodding once and thanks before heading in. The gang waited outside, the tension was thick. The hospital staff avoided them, whispering about who they might be. But inside that small room, the atmosphere was entirely different. Lily worked silently, cleaning the wound, her hands steady but her voice almost trembling. The biker leader, Mason, watched her quietly. He wasn't used to silence. He was used to roaring engines, shouting brothers, and the chaos of the streets. But here, in this sterile room, the sound of her gentle breathing was the only thing grounding him. Then, when she reached to pick up a bandage, the sleeve of her uniform lifted slightly, and Mason saw it. Bruises. Faded, yellowing marks that ran up her wrist, some fresh, some old. He frowned, his gaze narrowing. "Who did that to you?" he asked, his voice low and sharp. Lily froze, her face draining of color. "It's nothing," she whispered, pulling the sleeve down quickly. I bruise easily." Mason leaned forward slightly, his voice almost a growl. "That's not from bruising easy. That's from someone hitting you." She didn't answer. Just kept her eyes on the wound, avoiding his stare. Mason didn't push further, not yet. But something shifted inside him. For a man who had seen violence his entire life, who had caused plenty himself, there was something about seeing it done to someone defenseless that struck differently. Especially someone kind. Over the next few days, Mason had to return for follow-ups. His gang would fill the waiting area, drawing attention wherever they went. But every time, Mason only cared about one thing: whether Lily was there. He started noticing more. The way she flinched when someone spoke loudly. The tiredness behind her forced smile. The bruises that never seemed to heal completely. One evening, after most of the staff had gone home, Mason waited in the parking lot. He saw her walking out, clutching her bag tightly. Her eyes darted around nervously, as if expecting someone. Then he saw a man step out from behind a car, tall, wearing a cheap suit, with anger written across his face. Mason recognized the look instantly. It was the look of a man who liked control. The man grabbed Lily by the arm, yanking her close and whispering something harsh. Mason didn't hear the words, but he didn't need to. Before he could think twice, he stepped forward. "Let go of her," Mason said, his voice deep, steady. The man turned, sneering, "Mind your own business, biker." Mason didn't flinch. "This is my business now." The man laughed, but it was short-lived. Mason took one step closer, and something in his eyes, that cold, unflinching fury, made the man loosen his grip. "She's my wife," the man snapped. Mason tilted his head. "Then you better start acting like it." Lily's eyes filled with tears, but Mason didn't look at her, not yet. He kept his gaze locked on the man until he backed away, muttering threats under his breath. Mason stood there, watching him leave, his jaw tight. Then he turned to Lily. "You don't have to go home with him," he said softly. "You've got people who can help." That night changed everything. Lily didn't show up to work the next day. Or the day after. Mason grew restless. Then, on the third night, as he was working on his bike, he saw headlights pull into the alley. Lily stepped out, holding a small duffel bag. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "I didn't know where else to go," she said quietly. Mason didn't say anything at first, he just nodded toward the small room behind the garage. "You're safe here." The gang was surprised at first. They weren't used to having anyone fragile in their world. But slowly, Lily became part of it. She started helping out around the garage, bandaging scraped hands, sharing coffee with the bikers, and even laughing sometimes. Mason watched her heal slowly, painfully, but truly heal. One afternoon, a social worker arrived at the hospital asking questions about Lily. Apparently, her husband had filed a missing persons report. The staff didn't know what to say. Most of them had seen what she endured, but none had done anything. Word spread quickly that the biker gang had something to do with her disappearance. The hospital buzzed with gossip. But a week later, everything changed when Lily herself walked in, head held high, a small bruise still visible but fading. She wasn't there to hide anymore. She was there to resign, and to tell the truth, she filed charges against her husband that same day. Mason stood outside the courthouse as she walked out, sunlight spilling over her shoulders. "You did it," he said, smiling slightly. Lily smiled back. "No, we did." Months later, the same hospital that once whispered about the biker gang now praised them quietly. Mason became somewhat of a local legend, the man who stood up for a nurse when no one else did. And Lily? She started a new job, helping women in abusive relationships find safety. At the end of it all, Mason once told her, "You saved me, you know. I thought I was protecting you, but you gave me something I didn't think I deserved, peace." That's when Lily finally smiled, with tears in her eyes, and replied, "Maybe we both found it at the same time."